Yeah, I've recently had like all kinds of really weird problems with my email.
Oh, I hope it doesn't change my current situation of not getting too much from you.
It has nothing to do with that. No, I'm like missing recently.
Okay. We are officially on YouTube, y'all. So for the folks that are joining us via live stream on YouTube, this is ANC 5D's Committee of a Whole meeting. In better terms, the acronym that we use is COW. And pretty much what this means is that this is our working meeting, our admin meeting. Gives us an opportunity to either speak more directly with some potential presenters that are requesting a vote the following month during our public meeting. We do not hold any votes in this space. We can't make any formal decisions as a commission, but we can at least discuss some business, but not decide on anything. So the first portion of tonight's meeting will be entirely administrative, just going over some administrative matters that we might have not been able to accomplish this month and for the upcoming month. And then we'll go directly into two BZA matters happening in 5DO3, Southern Trinidad. And then we'll go directly into our interviews for our historian position that we'll be voting on in February. Before I move forward, are there any questions or anything that any of the commissioners want to make sure that we address during today's COW that I didn't vaguely mention? Okay. With that being said, I'll go ahead and discuss the lingering stuff that we need to finish as a new commission. We came in as for our new term this 2025. So that involves a couple changes specifically to our executive team. I myself was voted in as chair. Commissioner Rose was voted in as vice chair. Commissioner McCray was voted in as treasurer, and Commissioner Arbuckle was voted in as secretary. So with that being said, are there any open items that we did not get to take care of this month? One open item I know that we didn't get to take care of this month is the change of the bank accounts. That's something that we still need to do. Andy, did we decide on a date or because we can do that right now as a group?
I'm still missing responses from you as well as Commissioner Arbuckle to the doodle poll. I
Okay.
can put the link in the chat right now if that works for y'all.
I'll go by with whoever whatever works for the rest of the team. So if Commissioner Arbuckle, if you can fill out that doodle for Andy, we can figure out that bank date now.
The poll is in the chat.
Thank you so much.
I
Okay.
guess just really quickly along those same lines, um, the treasurer kind of training, stuff like that. Can we discuss that?
Yeah, go ahead. We can do that while Commissioner Abracle's doing the poll.
Okay. When do we expect the training to be? I haven't seen anything from the OANC.
You haven't,
Um,
sure? I could have swore I registered for the 8th for some reason. That might be a whole other thing I registered
I
for.
registered for an ABCA like new commissioner training, but I did
Oh, is
not
that the
see
8th?
anything. Yeah, it's like the 6th, the 8th, and maybe the
Okay, maybe that's what I'm
12th.
thinking.
But there wasn't anything that came out in regards to treasurer. I assume if I did the training online, that would suffice, but I don't want to make an assumption. And just making sure
Okay.
I'm within.
You're right, Commissioner. I definitely registered for the APCA training, not for the treasurer and chair training. So for those that are not familiar, every term, I believe every year, because we elect new officers. Every year, the chair and the treasurer has to take training for their respective roles. A majority of it is leaning towards making sure that both the chair and the treasurer know about the financial obligations and responsibilities. But it's also a great opportunity just to ask maybe some lingering questions of how to spend money or how to properly disperse funds if it's a grant, or they don't get too deep in the weeds, but they do at least generally talk about those things. So if you said you haven't received any notice of any potential trainings coming up.
Nothing yet. And I'm wondering, should I reach out to Kent about if there's something coming down the pipeline? Because I reached out to him about kind of doing an event, but I didn't reach out to him about the training. I assumed
And
they would like send something out, but
yeah,
they didn't yet.
Can I ask actually that you just call the office and leave a voicemail and they'll get back to you? They usually are pretty quick to get back to you. So if you want to do that right now, just so we have that in motion, we can definitely follow up to make sure that that's completed. Luckily, it's
Okay.
not necessary to hold the trainings for the other commissioners. Luckily, it's not necessary for us to do those trainings to move forward with any votes or any direct obligations. We are allocations that we get every quarter, that will be withheld, but I don't believe that that will be an issue that we'll see in the future. So just FYI there. So while Shar leaves that voicemail with the OANC, is there any other lingering administrative stuff that we haven't fully talked about? If
Uh,
not, that we have left open, I'm sorry.
yeah, I wanted to bring up the
Newsletter?
transition to Gov delivery.
Yes.
Um, it sounded to me like the appropriate information was being sent to the 5D at anc.dc.gov email address. I don't have access to that email address, so I don't know if there's a way we can go about
Yeah.
getting the appropriate information so that I can get into Gov delivery, because it would be great to fully transition over from MailChimp.
I'm sending an email right now.
Perfect, thank you.
And then that's gonna be in motion. And can we discuss our newsletter? See what's going on there with that?
Before we do that, can we return to the bank
Yes, did we get a date?
conversation real quick? It looks like the best time, the one time that everybody, meaning Commissioners Arbuckle, Rhodes, and McCrae, are all available is Thursday, February 6th, from 5 to 6 p.m. I had checked the bank hours. That was an email that I sent. I'm pulling that up now. And the bank is open until 6 p.m. on Thursdays. So it was between 5 and 6 on Thursday, the February 6th.
Okay. Would you be setting up that appointment for us, or do you want us to do that, Andy?
I'm happy to do that. What does that entail? Do you set up an appointment with the bank or
Yeah, yeah. Either they use
okay.
the online platform. I don't know. I can't remember if TD has something online or you just call, but we definitely
Okay.
need to set up an appointment to make sure the right person's there. Um,
Hmm.
Sub Sabrina, Commissioner Rhodes, I don't know if you remember the last you weren't on the executive team last year, but you were on the year prior. Do you remember the woman that helped us? I don't at TD Bank by any chance? Um,
Crop was full time.
yeah, I just
I don't
it's
remember
just
her.
something random, but I remember her and she helped us the following year as well. She actually passed away. She
Oh, are you
She
serious?
had complications with her pregnancy and
Oh,
suffered from I believe, a hemorrhage in her head, and
oh,
she didn't make it. She lost the baby, and it was pretty sad. I was there recently for the CAC because we were reopening a new bank account, and we were looking for her because she helps like the nonprofit like stuff, and that's when they told us she wasn't there because of what happened. So
oh,
may she rest in peace. Yeah, good person, really good person.
oh.
Um, yeah, but we've been at that bank for a while now. We've typically not had issues. I think we had issues maybe our last term when there was some irregularities with government agencies opening accounts, but I don't foresee that happening this year. But yeah, Andy, if you can set that up and confirm with us that they have the right
Hmm.
person, we'll move forward with the six. Sounds good,
And
everyone?
The
and
sixth is what day of the week again?
it's a Thursday. We had
Oh,
written down
okay.
from 5 to 6 p.m. The bank is open
Okay.
till 6 p.m. that day.
Okay, cool.
Great.
Awesome. And just from your prior experience, Commissioner, if I tell them that it's a ANC, will they know what to do with that information?
Yes, yes. Just let them
Okay.
know it's an ANC slash government agency. We're just
If it,
updating what is the proper verbiage? Updating the signers, I think that's the word.
Yeah, let's
So I
go
don't got
there.
that much money to know that well either.
I'll get in touch and I'll let you know if
Thank
there's
you.
any issues there. Okay, so that's February 6th.
That's set up. Yay.
Um, yeah, okay. All
Look,
right.
I don't believe I ever emailed the OANC about our new changes. Actually, before I do that, I think, Andy, we're gonna need the draft meeting minutes to be able to get the new signers on the account. What do you think those will be done by next Thursday if they're not already done?
Yeah, they'll be done by next Thursday.
Perfect.
They're almost entirely done. I apologize. It's
Oh, you're fine.
I'm a federal employee. It's been a busy time. So I'll
Don't
say
tell
no
me
more,
this.
but
Yeah.
yeah, so I'll definitely they're mostly done, so I'll make sure that they're available in time.
Okie dokes. Um, Commissioner Arbuckle, can I request that you send an email to the OANC and to Kent, just confirming the new executive team? They just need that in an email, just saying chair, vice chair, secretary, treasurer, and that's it. You can
So it's Kent and the Office of ENCs.
mhm. I forgot to do that this month.
Mhm.
Perfect. So that takes care of our upcoming banking situation. We're updating the OANC of the new executive officers. We have keys available at concierge of which building, Commissioner Arbuckle?
371 Morse Street,
No,
Northeast.
which what it's they left it at the concierge of one of those
Oh,
buildings.
let me see what they said in the email.
Mhm.
Um,
If y'all haven't, we were all in the email. If y'all haven't
wait,
picked up your key personally, which one is it, Arbuckle?
are you asking which one they put in last time?
Yeah, they sent an email. Michelle sent the email stating where she left them. I know it's the
It
high.
might,
I know it's the building. Technically, the apartments next to Trader Joe's.
would it be the Edison?
Yes, I think it is. If y'all haven't picked them up, what I'm gonna do is just pick them up for before our next public meeting and just hand it to y'all at the public meeting if y'all haven't picked up your key for the community room. Um, So that's keys. Everyone should have access to the Google Drive. If you don't, please reach out directly to Andy to request access. I believe they already made sure that everyone has access. Maybe if you're not tech savvy, you haven't touched it, but you should be able to access it if you want it. So that takes care of access to files,
On
access.
the
Mhm.
on the topic of the Google Drive, just
Yes.
before you move on, I was going to, when I get a moment, try and set up the file structure for this ANC term. I don't think I had seen that yet, Commissioner. Did you want me to go ahead and?
Oh, yeah, go ahead. I haven't done any
Okay.
of that.
Yeah.
It's just one folder.
Yeah, no, which is fine. We don't have much in there yet, but it's
Yeah.
probably a good idea to get organized before it
Thank
gets
you.
too out
Yeah,
of
it's swampy.
control.
Thank you. Um, so everyone should have I'm in a meeting. Thank you. So everyone should have access to the files. Everyone should be able to grab a key if they would like one. We're updating the OANC of the executive team changes. We've approved everything we needed at our first meeting. And as of right now, the only lingering thing I'm seeing administratively is just making sure that we have the minutes for our bank date. Is there anything else before we get onto the newsletter? Is there anything else that administrative wise that we need to address?
Yes. I apologize. I was trying to pull up the another one of the doodle polls I sent was for the January officer meeting.
Oh,
Obviously,
yes. Thank
we are
you.
getting to the end of January. I only had two folks complete it. That's Commissioner Arbuckle, who just completed it, and Commissioner McCrae. Um, just a question of what you all would like to do regarding regular officer meetings, since all of the officers are present here.
Okay.
It may be better to just decide on a general schedule moving forward,
Yeah.
considering that January is almost over.
Yeah. Can you drop the link in there for Commissioner Rhodes to fill it out?
I this is the doodle poll for what now?
For
This,
just the four officers to convene.
yeah, so there were multiple doodle polls. There's one for the bank visit, there's one for the officer meeting, and there was one for the newsletter meeting. So there was a lot of things going around.
Ah, okay. So do I need to do that right now?
If you could,
Okay.
thank
It's
you.
it's a
They
little
just dropped
it's
it
a
in
little out
there.
of date now with January almost being over, but
Uh,
um,
would we still be able to use those options as a general date once a month?
so the best option was looking for January, like um, January 29th from 8 to 9 p.m. Um,
The
I'll,
last Wednesday of the month?
yeah, or it looked like if need be Thursday, January 30th from 8 to 9 p.m. Um, so I think it's an open question. That's what Commissioner
Commissioner
Rhodes.
Rhodes, respectfully not calling you out on your age, but since you're the oldest one here, would you share your preference since you probably are the busiest beaver in the dam for multiple reasons?
Um,
And it's only a meeting just for 1 hour, just to make sure that we're doing the stuff we're supposed to be doing as officers.
okay. Let's do let me look at my calendar
Okay.
first.
So while you do that, we'll come back to it and feel free to use the raise your hand function once you got a preferred date for us. So I'll go straight into the newsletter since we only have a few minutes before we let the folks in for the BZA matters. We'll give them 10 minutes to present and 5 minutes for questions. And newsletter. So Commissioner Roblin was managing, actually, not sorry, not managing. She created a newsletter for ANC 5D, and the role has transitioned into a lead by Commissioner Arbuckle and our administrative assistant alongside Commissioner Rhodes. Um, where is the current status on this? And should we just request a sit down meeting either virtually or in person to knock this out?
I saw that. Oh, sorry.
Okay, so like I was explaining to Commissioner Roblin, I'm not a techie person. So if I want to add stuff to the newsletter, I'm not good at actually putting stuff on the newsletter. So I'm with just sitting down and we all working on it together. But as far as me,
Because I definitely can trust you with making sure that the correct content is there.
yeah. Mhm.
Respectfully, I wouldn't depend on you for that, all that links and access and all that. But but definitely for the content, because I believe that you would know what residents want to see and want to hear, right? Commissioner Arbuckle, you were going to say something?
Oh, I was just gonna say that I saw that Commissioner Robbins sent out a document that had like some ideas for the newsletter. I
Okay.
don't know if everyone else saw that.
I did see an email.
Yeah.
Can I recommend that we try to get this knocked out by our next public meeting? So either try to sit down for an hour and a half, either via Zoom or in person, next week or maybe even the 10th if possible. And
Mhm.
Commissioner Roblin, I would love to have you there as well, since you were already doing this, just to, keep that same spirit and energy going into the new newsletter 2.0. Sounds good. Okay, is there any date that we can set now as a group? I'm pretty flexible next week, actually. So I'm open to anything that y'all have preference for. February 10th is a Monday. I also don't think I have anything that Monday, so if that works also, I'm open. But I'm on y'all's clock for this one because I definitely want to see the newsletter flourish. I literally just had some residents saying that they would like to see a better version of it. So definitely something that we need to work on collectively.
So are we talking about the week of the 10th meeting or the week of the 3rd?
So my goal as chair is for us to have it done by the public meeting.
Okay.
which is the 11th. So anytime before that.
Okay. So
Can I ask a general scheduling question about that
Go ahead, go
meeting?
ahead.
Are folks usually more available on weekends or weeknights?
weeknight for me because weekends is kind of
You're
All
downtown.
right. Yeah, no worries.
Hmm.
For
I mean,
me, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, I'm busy until 7, and I couldn't get there before like 7:30 at the earliest. But like I could get there by 8 those days, and then the other days I'm a lot freer.
What are the other
so
days?
Monday,
Mondays and Fridays. I
Okay,
mean,
Friday, Saturdays, and Sundays.
perhaps Monday the 10th could work. It works for
Yeah,
me.
sounds good.
okay, let's go with the 10th.
All right.
I say we meet at the at 371 Morse to knock it out.
Mhm.
Roblin and Rhodes, I can pick y'all up if needed. And we just knock it out and get it done.
All
What
right.
time? What time?
Y'all can select the time.
7, like everything
7,
else.
7 to 7, fine. Commissioner Rhodes, 7 o'clock. Good.
All right.
Okay,
That works for me. I'll send out a calendar invite to get it on folks' calendars.
perfect. Okay. We have 4 minutes left. And with those 4 minutes, I want to continue our task with our administrative matters. Before I move on to the next item, Andy, was there anything else that we're missing at this time?
I don't think so. I'll mention briefly that we got the website back up. We just had an outstanding billing issue, kind of related to the changeover in commissions, and the old card information was in there. I'm doing some research into if we want to change web providers. My goal is to make sure things are simple. They are not currently simple. We have a GoDaddy connected to WordPress. And it requires a high level of technical expertise, but there are other options. So we upped the website subscription for GoDaddy, which was what the issue was, for the next 3 months, so we can determine if we want to stay the course there or switch to a different service that hopefully, well, the goal would be to simplify. Um, and I'm trying to think if there's any other administrative matters. I don't think
I don't
so
think
at
so.
this time. The only other thing is that the posting, the Google form is live for the administrative personnel hiring,
Thank you.
and so far there's been one response.
Okay, perfect. So if anyone needs a director, any potential folks that want to apply for that position, direct them to our website.
Yes, it's right on the main page of the website.
Perfect. Commissioner Roblin?
Um, um, Sarah Kate is in the waiting room. She's waiting to be let in.
Okie dokes. We start the interviews for them at 8.
Oh, 8? I'll let her know. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you, Commissioner. So we got 2 minutes left. I'll use those 2 minutes to talk about the agenda for the public meeting in February. We do have some voting action items with these BZA matters. Commissioner Rhodes has requested a special presentation on the men's shelter. Is there anyone else expecting any presentations for February, particularly?
Let me check the zoning dashboard.
I know we had some requests for February presentations. Does anyone recall who those requests were coming from?
So there's, I remember those. I'm
Yes.
just checking whether I know that Kevin had reached out to. I'm just gonna type this.
Oh, we had that matter in my SMD. Are they
Yeah.
requesting a vote for February or March?
Well, they're going to be their deadline is the 26th, but I don't know if they responded. Oh wait, you did, didn't you? Oh no.
is that flower the solar?
Okay, I think you all
This is
did.
solar company.
Mhm.
On they were able to do it on the zoning committee meeting, right?
They attended that one again. Yeah.
Yeah. So Yeah, it would be this
They need it in
meeting.
February.
Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like it's a packed meeting. FYI, if needed, we can only add one more presenter to
Yeah.
February's meeting. So, what I'm gonna do since it's a packed meeting, I'm gonna do my best to get the draft agenda out to y'all by Friday. That way, if any of y'all have voting action items, we can see collectively if we agree just to add it as a calendar consent calendar item. That way it doesn't bog down the meeting with when it comes to voting actions. But again, we only have room for one other presenter if needed. I know Taiwana Smith from C Sosa wanted to present to us, but actually I'm going to reserve her to come to our next COW meeting. So, because I think the content is really just for ANC commissioners, but anyone that's publicly watching this right now as a resident, that information can be easily used amongst them as well. But I think hers is more targeted towards us as a commission, so I'll reserve her for there instead of having her take any time at the actual public meeting. Um, next month's meeting is going to be hybrid. We will make it virtual and in person. So I am not too keen on adding another presenter, but if needed, we'll add them. When they find out it's in person, they might prefer just to wait till the virtual option presents itself. But if I missed it, and I most likely did, because some of the folks that requested presentations, they requested them back in November. Please just bring the just send an email response again, be like, hello, so and so, are you interested in still presenting? Because it sounds like we'll have a better option in March for some of these folks to present and share information to the public, since these BZA matters are taking up a big chunk of the meeting. Any questions with the upcoming agenda? Okay. I think the only thing I didn't discuss for the agenda is just again the typical meeting minutes for a vote. We'll make sure that that's going to be linked on the agenda once it's drafted. And I think that's it. Is there any questions for next month's meeting in general? I'll start an email chain for it, but I just wanted to while we're here.
So it's hybrid, and if someone wants to present in person, they can.
Yes. Yes.
And
But if they asking when they ask for a vote, just so we know moving forward, when they're asking for a vote from us, they have to make themselves available to us in person if we're meeting in person. Or respectively, they can wait to the following month and meet with us virtually. So we're leaving it up to them to make that decision, but that's how we're going to proceed when it comes to votes. Sounds good? Okay, great. With that being said, we'll go ahead and start with one of the BZA matters and let them present and give us an opportunity to ask questions. Commissioner Roblin, do you know who's going first?
No, I don't think it was chosen.
Commissioner Arbuckle, do you know who's been on technically on the waiting list the longest for BZA matters?
Between this is Morris and Staples.
Yes.
Well, Morris, so Staples has the sooner deadline, so we could go with them.
Okay, do we know who's representing on Staples?
It's
Leroy
Leroy, I believe. Yeah.
Alexander.
What was that?
Leroy Alexander.
Bennins?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and drop. I think the one outstanding matter would be confirming the officers meeting. And it looked like Commissioner Rhodes put in the chat January 30th, which would be Thursday. So I'll just leave that there.
Okay, we'll follow up with that separately then.
Take care, and you all know where to find me.
Thank you, Andy. Thank
Thanks,
you so much.
Andy.
Absolutely.
Hello, Miss Alexander Bennins, is that correct?
That's correct. Good evening, everyone.
Hi, who else is joining you today?
My husband, but with the delay in the meeting, we have two young children, so he started bath time. So
Okay.
sorry, we were ready at 7, but it's the difference between them going to bed at 8 and 9. So
No, I know that can be a difference. So we have other folks for another matter. I just want to make sure we're not missing someone that's joining you today.
And for us, it's just me and my husband. So he'll
Right.
pop in as available, but I can go ahead and get us started.
Perfect. Go
Um,
ahead. Oh,
there's something maybe I should say beforehand.
go
Mhm.
ahead, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, because I'm not sure if we should even go through the plans right now. There was a couple things I wanted to check on. Is one of them is, are these the new plans rather than the old ones? Because I know that you had gotten new plans and didn't really get the chance to send it to us, but I wanted to make sure that these are the new ones, so we're not going over old ones that are not the actual plans.
So I'm not sure which ones you have. I'm prepared with new plans today based on the suggestions that you guys had given. So if you're
Great.
okay with it, I do have a presentation prepared
Mhm.
just to recap us for to where we are now and then address all of the open items that you guys had flagged for us for feedback last time.
Yeah, there is another matter too, though, that the next door neighbor, Angela, she lives right next door in a building that's attached, at 1208. She's taken party status in opposition, because the the solar study has not been done, and I think that without the solar study, we can only go so far talking about this case, because you all have got to. I mean, the BZA is definitely also going to want you to make an agreement with Angela. So I'm not sure if there's really that much point in us getting into the case before you guys have an agreement with Angela. I don't know. It's up to you all what you other commissioners think.
So I
Okay.
do have an update per that. And I think in terms of the relief items that BZA outlined, the solar system was not. We learned about the solar system during our last call with you all, at which point we have been in coordination with Angela. I know that Anna, it seems maybe you've been in communication with her as well. We are still in progress with Angela. She has a solar study that will be done by next week, per her message to us earlier today. At that point, we can take action, but we've been open in our communication with her.
Great.
Again, that's one of the items that I have outlined. It isn't an item that was outlined by BZA. It was an item learned here
Hmm.
during our last meeting. And our last meeting was held at the end of December while my husband and I were out of the country in London. And we didn't get back to the States until January 5th. At that point, we've been hitting the ground running in our communication with Angela, but because of that delay out of the country, it did, communication probably wasn't as you expected it to be, Anna, but we talked to Angela, even to the point where my husband has gone out to meet with her, but she said that she's not ready with the information that she needs to kind of accept or review an offer that we have for her. Again, based on communication via email that you've sent, it seems like you guys have been in communication and Angela is not satisfied with the terms that we laid out to her. That's before she's received her study. So we'll take that into consideration. But also we're doing the best within our means to meet her, at a point that's hopefully amicable. Again, all of this was new information to us as of the December 20 something meeting. I don't remember the exact date.
Mhm.
But
Okay.
again, that's one of the things that I have outlined. So I'll let you talk. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, Commissioner Roblin, those are things that you should have addressed to directly this person before they joined the meeting. So I don't want to take up more time with this.
Okay.
If Miss Alexander Bennett, if you can go ahead and start the presentation, we would love to see it.
Cool. Thank you.
Hmm.
And it looks like some of you guys are new. I do remember Commissioner Arbuckle, but I don't think I've met any of the rest of you, Shar, Sabrina, and Commissioner Sauceda. So nice to meet
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
you.
Myself and Commissioner Rhodes were veterans here. Commissioner McCray is new, so we appreciate again the time that you give us in this space because it's more personal one-on-one with us before it presented it to the public for a vote in February.
No problem. Thank you. I want to share all of my screens. So if I have to stop and share again, I will. So I
Sure.
have a PowerPoint presentation, and then I also have some artifacts to support. So kind of keying us back into the relief details. This was the point of conversation the last time we spoke. I just outlined them here. A lot of it is for me because I don't really understand the subtitle XYZ. But these are the 6 exceptions that BZA flagged for us. And I think that I'm sorry, I advanced too quickly. I think the more layman's terms are in the reasoning. So rooftop structure exceeding the maximum allowable height, roof structure setback, not providing the required setback from the existing front building wall, third floor addition with a front porch roof deck. That was one item that they flagged to us that would need to have an exception applied. Proposed rear setback, so that's pushing out our back extension. Um, Same for proposed rear addition. So the setback is the 20 feet needed from the property line to the building line, and then the rear addition being greater than the 10-foot maximum, and then greater than 60% maximum lot occupancy. So in terms of like overall summary, proposed third story and rear addition to an existing single family home, and we're looking to convert it into 2-family flat. From the last time that we had spoken, it seemed like these exceptions were things that the group were fine with. They were beyond the scope of what is in the subtitle or again, I don't know what the appropriate wording is, but taking a look at both precedent set by neighboring buildings and the calculations that we have on our floor plans, that seemed fine. What wasn't was we did get some feedback from you guys for like actions and recommendations. That's kind of how I interpreted them to be. Number one is exactly as Anna's outlining. So the solar panel study, which was new information, reviewing that with Angela and getting a subsequent signature on some sort of agreement. So my husband Leroy has been in ongoing contact with Angela. She submitted for a solar study. She said that she'd have that completed by next week. And then after that, we can determine next steps. I think the confusion for Angela and actually confusion for my husband was the timing that it would take to get the solar study done. He thought that it would be a longer runway, but Angela was able today to get someone to come out next week. So that's good from a timeline perspective because I do know that Anna mentioned the last time that having that artifact, the artifact being the agreement with Angela, would be sort of the deciding factor for her in her support or non-support of our conversation. Your hand is up.
Yes, I had a quick question. Just for reference purposes, Miss Angela lives where in terms of the property?
Miss Angela's right next door to us. So if you're looking
Okay.
at if you're inside the home, looking
Mhm.
to the street,
Yes.
Miss Angela's to our left,
Okay, thank you.
adjoining. So her building does touch our building.
Got it. Perfect. Thank you.
Mhm.
Uh, I'm
Go ahead.
sorry. Commissioner Romlin, you're muted. You're not frozen. Just we had a lot of background noise, so just want to make sure if you need to speak, just unmute yourself. You good? Okay, got it.
Can I ask a question really quickly?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is a solar study inclusive of a shadow study as well? If they have solar panels on their house and if there's a shadow, will that be included? Because I assume it won't like bring in enough. I just want to know, is it inclusive of a shadow study as well?
Yeah, so that's part of it.
Okay.
And I don't remember the commissioner's name, Miss Anna might. But one of your peers or
Mhm.
colleagues said that he had a home that had the same, like someone was building right next to him and they were impeding his solar system. Um, and that's where this recommendation came from, to do the solar panel study. He said that the people that built next to him were able to come to some sort of agreement. And that's kind of where this conversation began. But I think that's the exact intention for them to determine, like, once we build up, how much will we be blocking or cutting down on
Mhm.
her solar generation? You know, will we be substantially altering her bill? In that case, you know, can we come to some sort of compensation that she feels somewhat alleviated? I can't say that we will match her bill 1-to-1, but we will do our best. Go ahead.
And just a quick question, just for clarification purposes or for the record. It sounds intermittent. You said Miss Angela was the one that found the person to do the study?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I just want for the record. Thank you.
Yeah. I know my husband was mentioning today, because again, this is new information to us as of the last few hours. When
Hmm.
we did speak last time, the board, your group
Hmm.
suggested that we incur the cost for the solar study, which
Okay.
we're happy to do.
Okay.
But we haven't spoken to Angela today, and her email, which I think you guys might have all been on, was the last correspondence that we had on the matter.
Okay. So we're expecting that done by the public meeting and the information shared at the presentation.
Mhm.
Perfect. I'm not trying to rush you. I'm just trying to get to the point so
No problem.
we can get to the nitty-gritty questions.
No
Uh,
problem.
but this is
Uh,
great. Thank you.
So the next were recommendations, and so there were either items we were able to incorporate or not. So the next one was one of the commissioners had suggested in our plans we have two front entries, one for unit one, one for unit two. They had made a recommendation to rethink the exterior entrance from being two to one. I think that was his personal preference, just based on the look. We did speak to our architect and we were not able to incorporate that change just
Okay.
because from the architect's perspective, he said that code requires that the two units be separated by 1 hour fire rated walls and having those and with two means of egress. So having those two separate doors was the best thing for our plan. I don't know if, well, I'm sure other buildings have done it where they've done the one with the entry immediately in, you walk up some steps, you have another entry. But our architect just didn't see if that really offered us any additional efficiency. It seemed to just be a cosmetic recommendation. So that one we were not able to incorporate, but just wanted to put that here. The third item is the 3D rendering of plans. Again, suggestion by your board because you guys said that people are visual, and
Yes.
it's better received. So we
Yes.
were able to do that, and I have that to show today.
Thank you so much.
So our architect at an additional cost was able to do some 3D renderings for both the front and exterior layouts.
We know it's expensive. We appreciate you doing that.
No problem. Whatever makes this process easier, or as easy can be. I mean,
It
I'm
ain't
not,
easy, but it can be done.
I'm realistic, not optimistic, but whatever
There
we
you
can
go.
do to help the process. Another one was the rear measurements were incorrect. So
What did
there,
that mean?
I'm sorry.
What did that mean? What do you mean we're
Yeah,
measuring?
so I can show that. So in site plan A.02,
Mhm.
that one is right here. If I zoom in,
Oh, it
I
says
believe
zoning measurements on memorandum did not include the thickness of the wood. So because of the thickness of the wood, the measurements were
they were off. So we
uh,
have 12 feet, but in the BZA, they had like 11 point something 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 to account for the thickness of the wood. So my husband did follow up a BZA for that change, but just
mhm.
wanted to sort of explain that
Okay,
piece.
that's fine. And then
Um,
for the second football currently down.
And we can come back to that plan. But that was for number four. Number
Hmm.
five, this was a good catch. We had something wrong on our floor plan. We have for the walkout, two windows and a door. But in the original plans, when we met with you guys, someone called out that we had three windows, which was correct. So we had to update our plans because they were
Okay.
wrong.
Okay.
And then for the last one, add bedroom measurements to the room labels. So this was for A101. Let me just open the right thing.
It's not sharing because it's on a different screen, but it's entirely
Oh,
fine. Can I ask what the measurements are? You don't need to open it, but what the measurements actually are?
so the measurements are there. The thing is that
Okay.
the measurements are, it might be helpful for me to share. I can try to
Oh,
explain it, but
yeah, whatever we can do. Mm-hmm.
imagine a box. The measurements are on the outside of the box,
Oh, okay.
but the recommendation from
In
your
room label.
was to put them inside the box.
Understood,
So
understood. But
that's
what
what.
do you what are the measurements of the actual rooms, if you could share that?
Yeah, I can. Give me 1 second.
And just these are 2 units and how many bedrooms in each?
Um, I should know that off the top of my head, but I don't. Give me one
It's
second.
fine.
I think the top one, okay, here's the floor plan. Um, the first unit on the top is 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms.
Ooh.
The bottom unit is one, 2 bedrooms, 1.5 bathrooms.
Okay.
Um, and so yeah, the measurements on the outside, they're not on the inside by the bedroom labeling. And so that was the feedback.
Small little things. Good.
Yeah. So that was our conversation last time. So just
Okay.
wanted to come back to that. And then so I will stop sharing and share my other screen because this is where the 3D rendering is.
Okay.
Um, share. I wish it would let me share my entire screen. I
Hmm.
mean, it's more secure this way, but annoying. Um, can
Okay.
you
So
see a 3D rendering?
yes,
Or okay,
1206 is the property right now, correct?
1206, yeah.
Got it.
So you can see here, this is how the property looks now.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have a neighbor 2 doors, 2 buildings away that have done a lot of the enhancements that we're looking to make. Um,
Okay.
this is an image of the changes superimposed on
Mm-hmm.
the building, just for reference.
So you all are not changing that bottom portion?
No, we're not changing. We are changing. Sorry, we are. This is where the
Right.
2 doors are occurring.
Ah,
So
okay.
door
Understood.
one, where the window is on the right side, will be
Uh-huh.
door one into unit one, and
Uh-huh.
then where the existing door is will be the door two into unit two.
Is it only doors then at the bottom, no more windows?
This window in the middle will stay there.
Okay, got it.
Mhm.
And just for the record, do you know when that property at the corner was redeveloped?
No, but I can find out. I can Google it.
I'll ask the
Um,
question again probably later just for reference.
okay,
At the next meeting, so you don't need to get it right now, but I appreciate that.
okay. I'll write
Okay,
that
got
down.
it.
And then this is the rendering of the
Got
front
it.
facade. So some of the things that you guys had mentioned in the last
Hmm.
call was someone really liked maintaining sort of the facade or the structure
Yeah,
of
we
like
love
dome.
trying because a lot of properties in Trinidad just kind of just did their own thing. So anytime we see folks like you all that come in, we love to at least maintain something. So it looks like that definitely was taken into account here.
Yeah, so we took that. Another thing that was taken was like made like a material suggestion on the railings just to make sure that they're I guess the goal was to make it as see-through as possible. So we are doing like it won't be like a solid kind of railing. It's going to
Mhm.
be either a wooden or wrought iron railing that has sort of this look.
Understood.
Um, and then this is the walkout on the second floor. That's part of the exception. We provided in prior documentation examples throughout the community of other people doing this,
Okay.
just to show that a precedent had been set.
Okay. So that
Um,
will be in your presentation?
it already is. I actually didn't
Okay.
go that far, but I
Okay.
back to
If
it.
as long as it is, it's fine.
It's
We
in
just want
there.
to make sure the public's aware of it.
We can come back to it.
No, it's fine. Commissioner Rose, you had a quick question?
Quick. The houses in between,
Hmm.
they're okay with two tall houses.
Yeah. So both of these houses are actually renovated. Um,
Mhm.
so they've done their own work. They haven't built up, but they've done a lot of a similar work interior that we have. The individuals in this yellow house, I
Mhm.
believe that the person's renting it out. I don't know if they're the owners.
Okay.
Um, but we did receive from the owner, like the
Support.
people living there aren't the owners, but we did receive a signature from the owner that was okay.
Okay.
And this house here, they're not our adjacent owner, so we didn't have to get their signature, but I would assume that they're fine with it. We can ask if you'd like.
Can we get that clarification,
Okay.
Ms. Alexander Bennett, just to make sure that because Commissioner Rhodes brings up a point. It happens in DC where properties get sandwiched in by development. So
Hmm.
if we can at least know what their stance is on this project, we would really appreciate it.
Okay. So the signature for this person here, I think should already be on the record.
Perfect.
I can confirm for this White House,
Appreciate it.
if my husband got a signature or not. If he didn't, we can go back and get one.
Thank you so much. And it's
Um,
safe to say Miss Angela lives in that red brick building.
yes, this is
Right.
Angela right here.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mhm. Let me write this down because I'll forget.
No, you're fine.
Um,
Are there, I'm seeing what they're requesting. I'm seeing that they did their due diligence. So I'm seeing that they're going to be fairly prepared for the public meeting. Commissioners, are there any questions at this time for Ms. Alexander Benens before she finishes?
and
Commissioner
I have
Arbuckle?
one. Hmm.
I think the main thing is just I know that Commissioner Roblin sent an email, but making sure that you get a good resolution with Miss Angela that works well for her. I think that'll be pretty important. But otherwise, it looks good to me.
Great.
Okay.
Commissioner McCray?
Just a quick question. Just wondering if it's in the presentation, just in regards to parking.
Hmm.
Um, is there any, it didn't look like there was anything in terms of an exception for parking. I
Hmm.
assume there's no parking on the premises and it might just be street parking. Are you gonna address that within the presentation as well?
I haven't included it because, like you said, the presentation I kind of scoped it to the exceptions. They didn't
Mm-hmm.
call that out, but I'll be transparent with you. In our plan, we do have parking space for one
Okay.
vehicle. That was one thing that Angela did call out. She did join our last call, and she was just mentioning about street parking.
Okay.
Um, and so we will be inhabiting one of the units.
Okay.
So the person inhabiting the other one would have to do street parking. And it sounded from Angela like maybe, parking was at a premium in the neighborhood. Unfortunately, I don't think there's much more that we could do just because we've already had the exception for the lot occupancy, like the 60%. So I don't really know if there's much that we can do in the space to provide parking. But we did make space for one car.
Well, not to put your business out there, but which unit you grabbing?
Oh, the upstairs one.
Is that the 3-bedroom one?
Yeah.
Okay,
We have
so
we
yeah.
have two under two, so
Okay.
we need
Okay.
space. Yeah.
Okay. So if you got the bigger unit, you got the parking. It sounds like feasible here. But just the public asked those questions. So if you could just either include it in a quick slide for the public presentation, we'd appreciate it.
Okay.
Hmm. Commissioner Roblin, I'll give you the last question so she can finish the presentation.
Well, it's not a question, so
Oh,
maybe
go
I
ahead.
should
Feedback
wait.
comment. Hmm.
Yeah, it's a explanation of some things.
Okay.
Should
You're
I go now or?
yeah, you're long-winded, girl. So go ahead now.
Yeah. So I definitely don't, I will not approve, I will not vote for this unless the agreement with Angela is satisfactory for Angela. And I've said that before. And I think you all just are not familiar with things about the solar studies, but your partner offered Angela, first he offered Angela a year of her PEPCO payments or whatever it was, some kind of payments, and then he changed it to 7 months. But actually, it's going to be like 20 years worth because of the amount of shade um, on her building is going to be at a minimum 30%. And if your parapet wall is actually not 9 feet, but actually 14.8 feet, the shade to her system is actually going to be about 45 to 50% instead of 30%. So you're looking at something more like $20,000 if for the solar compensation for Angela, not like a lot smaller of an amount. And I mean, I think everybody was just kind of shocked that you all came up with a year and then changed it to 7 months. And it didn't give anybody a good feeling. I guess you just didn't know that. But Angela took out party status in opposition because of the low offers.
So the one thing I will say, Miss Roblin, is a few things. The first is, it's an assumption that we can come up with $20,000, right? Like we're here to invest in the neighborhood. And, the solar study is something that was new information to us in December and didn't expect, one, I don't know all of the details of the solar study. We will find that out. The offer that we had given Angela initially seemed reasonable with our limited information. Now that you're sharing more information, it helps put it into context. But I will tell you that it wasn't a two-way conversation. It really just seems like we had given information to Angela and she never came back to us. It seems like it's conversation that she's had with you and maybe other people, but a lot of the conversations aren't very direct. And I don't know if that's really productive for sort of getting to a resolution. The information that Angela sent over today about getting the solar study was good news. Because one, she was able to get it on a quicker timeline than we thought possible, which is perfect. Now we can get empirical data. But then two, the party status, I mean, I'm not really familiar with that process. I learned about that today. And so to hear that she's opposing without really having conversations with us, is, it we're part of the neighborhood too. We've purchased already. So all of this process that we're going through is great because it helps us kind of see our vision through, but we're already there. We pay a mortgage every month like everyone else does.
Yes, but
It would be
if,
nice if some of the conversations happened where there was like parity, right? We're not here to make Angela's life difficult. Angela has also shared other things based on her conversations in our last meeting, about work that she's done to her house that she's not happy with. And so she was using some of the questions last time to kind of help her gauge, she has that extension toward the back that's sloping. I don't know if she's spoken to you about that, but that was a concern of hers, that if we built back and we had like in our touching sides, how would she be able to go in and make those updates? And we were even willing to offer her like, hey, when our guys are back there doing that work, we can make an adjustment for you, or we can give you the expertise of our contractors and our structural engineer, because I do think that she has some structural things done based on work that she's done. All of this is contextual information that is not related to the solar system, but just shows that we have open conversation with Angela and we would like for that to continue. And, our intention wasn't to lowball her. We were making an offer based on information that we had. You're giving more information now, which makes me, I think it was like 700. 700 pales in comparison to 20,000. I get that. Can we get to 20,000? Probably not. Like I said, we're
yeah.
a working family, we have young children, and we're now making a very large investment in this house. So I don't know if we can get to that point, but what we will do is work with her the best that we can.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm sorry that you didn't get the information earlier. I'm not exactly sure how that happened. But it absolutely has to be fair to Angela. If you are going to block her shade, you need to be responsible for making that good for her. And I have found out that if you go to the BZA, they're they're probably in the hearing, definitely going to want to see a good solution with Angela. And if they don't, at least that's the information I was given, they may not support you. And 20, like you said, that you told Angela you were paying 4,000 a month for it as it is, but 20,000 is a lot less than 48,000, and 48,000 is what you're gonna have to pay in an extra year of payments if the ANC does not approve it. Because when the ANC does not approve you, if we voted against you, you're gonna have to wait a whole year before you're allowed to start building. Those are the rules.
So you're basically saying that our options are to pay 20,000 or we're not getting approval.
Your options
That's
are
what it sounds like.
to pay whatever is fair to
But
compensate
I've
Angela for what
mentioned,
you're
Well,
but
doing
I've
to her
mentioned,
I'm gonna have to
what you're
interject
doing to her
here. I'm gonna have
building.
to interject here, everyone, because we're over on time, and it seems like this is more of an argument than a discussion right now between the commissioner and the
Sorry
developer.
about that.
That's something that you all need to do on the sidelines. Um, just so you're clear, Miss Alexander Bennon's moving forward for next month. You are on the agenda for next month. The commission votes on this. We all have our own vote. We don't, we look at everything respectfully and make a decision after that. So I don't wanna disrespect Commissioner Rowland, but you can't say what you're saying right now in this meeting to this person. So if you want to say that, have it offline in a different setting, a different space, but not here during the COW, because they're here to present to share with us. And those concerns, you need to directly address them to the Alexander Bennons LLC, not us right now. So I think you've answered all our questions. I know Commissioner Roblin had a lot of comments and feedback that sounds like she'll probably follow up with you on. But in terms of what we requested tonight, you presented that. You showed us your due diligence in terms of the feedback that you received in our zoning committee. And it sounds like you're going to be prepared for a vote from us in February. Is there anything else that you might have questions on from us before we let you go tonight?
I don't know if it's going to make the conversation productive. And if it's not, I'm happy to stop. One, I want to thank you for your comments. But then two, just in terms of like, something that Anna had mentioned was about the illegality of the solar. I'm working off of the assumption that BZA would not have prepared this memorandum if we were doing anything illegal. So I just want to make sure that that is not the case and that everything that we are, seeking from you guys are 100% in accordance with, I know it's an exception, but in accordance with the precedents that have already been set. I just, based on the emails, again, you guys have all been on them. There was a matter of illegality that was stated, and I just wanted to make sure that that wasn't the case.
No, that's fine. We can address that again if needed, but I think at this point in time, everything's moving as it should.
Okay.
I apologize if I was out of line. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. We're being mindful because we have another matter for you, Commissioner Roblin, that we have folks waiting and then we have interviews to still do. So I'm just trying to get through this meeting because we wanted them to deliver information and Ms. Alexander Bennons did that. So we just want to respect that they did what we asked them to do tonight. Is it okay if we follow up with you if we have any other questions? And then if you do have a presentation, if you can share it with us at least a week before the meeting, you might update it after then, but as long as we know what you're going to present and we might have some questions before then, we just want to make sure you have a very productive meeting when you present to the public.
Perfect.
Are you just making sure are you aware that we are requesting that you present in person?
No.
Okay.
My
Yeah, I know
husband
you
is
mentioned
doing.
little ones, so I just want to make you aware right now.
Okay.
We hold we hold meetings hybrid or virtual. Next month is hybrid, so we're meeting in person. So anyone requesting a vote from us has to appear in person. That's at 371 Moore Street, right in Union Market. Free 3-hour parking across the room. We'll confirm the time so you're not left in limbo like you were today. That was our fault that we didn't specify exactly when we allow people to join the meeting, but we'll confirm that time because we do have to give notice of a public agenda. So the time is literally set a week in advance. So we'll make sure that you have the correct time to make arrangements for anything that you need to do.
And the date for that?
February 11th.
Thank you.
Tuesday, February 11th.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You have a good night.
Good time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, so Commissioner Rowland, can you confirm who the other folks are? I have Albert Akin and Gregory Kearley, is that correct?
Yes, exactly.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Hello, thank you for joining us. Sorry for the delay here. We had a little bit of miscommunication on the set time that we had for y'all to join, but we appreciate you being here tonight. Correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner Arbuckle, but my understanding these folks have already presented to our committee, have already heard feedback and commentary from your first presentation, and tonight is an opportunity just to speak more directly with the ANC commissioners before we hold a public vote on February 11th. Mr. Gregory Kearley, I also have here Alper Akon or Akon. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. But if you have a presentation, feel free to go ahead and start it. Not to rush you in any kind of way, but since some of us are very familiar with the project already, we definitely like just to get to the meat and potatoes so we can get to questions so you're more prepared for February.
Okay, I'm glad to do a abbreviated presentation just to refresh anyone who isn't as familiar.
Mhm.
And I can do that if I can share my screen.
Yes, sir.
And are you here, Albert?
He's there. He's just muted.
Okay.
Also, we'll say you're showing your whole Chrome, just in case you didn't know that.
That's fine. Thank you. So this is a proposed development at 1154 Moore Street Northeast. And
One thing, it's not showing any PowerPoint. If you're meaning to show one, we don't see it.
you can't see my screen?
I just see it's like your search history. That's what I see.
Do you see that you don't see the sheets?
You are
No.
sharing your screen, but you might have the wrong screen shared right now.
Mhm.
Okay, let me try again here.
Thank you so much.
Can we see this now?
Yes.
Okay. So this project is located at 1154 Moore Street Northeast in Washington, D.C. So you can see the location here on the aerial map. And these are the existing conditions, front and rear. Existing site plan, existing plans and elevations, and now we're looking at the proposed site plan. So this is a conversion from a single family home to a 3-unit multifamily. And we're asking for relief, special exceptions for two things. If you have, there's a 900 square foot rule for zoning that typically for you 900 square feet, if you're over 900 square feet, it's a special exception to have the third unit relief for the third unit from BZA. We're at 2,800 square feet, 2,878, so we meet that threshold. And then the other relief that we're looking for is for the 10-foot rule, which is extending past the neighbor's property, the adjacent neighbor's property, no more than 10 feet. We are proposing 16 feet, so we're asking for 6 feet of relief from the 10-foot rule. So those are the two areas of relief we're asking for. Everything else we're proposing is a matter of right. The accessory structure, lot occupancy. So the two areas of relief we're looking for are the 3 units and the 10-foot rule, which are both special exceptions and not variances. So I'm glad to answer any questions, and we can go through the plans. I don't know how much information you want on the plans or if you've seen the plans. I'm glad to take you through that. Let me know what you want me to share with you and how you want me to navigate communicating the project with you.
Sure, of course. We really appreciate it. Just a quick question for the public meeting. I see these photos right here. These look great, but do we have any other renderings that would be best used for the public to be more capable of understanding this project. I know as architects and folks that do this on the daily, they can easily read these things. But just for a quick question for February, just to make sure that we're properly prepared, you all. I just want to make it clear in your presentation, just to have just really clear renderings and just make it very clear of what you're requesting for the ANC to vote on. Not that you haven't done that. Not that you haven't done that, but I just want to make it clear to you all tonight for February 11th. That's what we're looking for in that presentation.
We were told the 14th at one point. It's the
Oh,
11th, not the 14th.
no, we always meet on Tuesdays.
Okay.
Yeah. The 14th of January was our last public meeting. February 11th is our next public meeting. So I'm happy I did mention this because it would have been bad if y'all showed up a different day.
So
But
the rendering we
this
do
looks
have is
great. This
of the
looks great.
proposed for the front, so you can see that,
Perfect.
and that's been shared with the ANC and
Yes.
folks. So there is a rendering of the proposed development.
Mm-hmm.
There's a third floor addition that is set back
Perfect.
and
So you can't
is
see
a
it from the
matter
front
of right.
easily.
So we're keeping the
Facade is
character of
yeah.
the cornice
Mm-hmm.
and the spire. So that is to be restored.
Mm-hmm. And for feedback that y'all got at the last committee meeting, did you take any of that feedback? Did we move forward with anything or?
We really didn't get a lot of feedback for that
Okay.
meeting in terms of specifics. I know that and Alper, you can speak to this. I know there's been communication and reaching out to the neighbors at 1156 and 1152 Moore Street. Those are the
Mm-hmm.
two neighbors that are directly adjacent and abutting this particular project.
And again, they're in favor of the project.
Alper, can you speak to that?
Yeah, I think we recently, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, they were originally supporting and we received I guess a change of mind or a letter recently, I think as of last week.
Is that on the docket?
Do you mind repeating it again? It's just
Is that on the docket for the case on the BZA, that letter that you're referencing?
Yeah, I think there's some party status requests and whatnot, basically.
Okay.
So that's a recent development. So I'm just openly sharing. So I'm,
Appreciate it.
yeah, we're ironing out their concerns and whatnot. So
What are their concerns, Alper?
There's some trash storage concern. Nothing that there's some fire concern. Nothing that the building code or the zoning administration doesn't address. These are just neighborly concerns, but
Neighborly
some of
concerns as y'all doing construction or neighborly concerns with potential hazards arising from the development?
When you say potential hazard, because the building
Just,
code itself, it's addressing all the fire and safety related issues. So
Okay.
I can't really just saying that we're going to be putting 3 units with modern wiring and modern breakers and whatnot, that is all addressed within the inspection process and the DOB, the plans and the permit and the fire code and safety related stuff. So, so some of them, I'll let DOB and other professionals and the inspectors answer that, but I don't see them as we will address them in whatever else. But like trash, we already have designated spots for trash cans. I know that's a legitimate concern. All those trash cans in the alley, they get mixed around and tossed around, and at the end, sometimes when you put a parking, you don't really have space for the trash can. But we did consider that in our design. And we have designated spaces for them.
You can see that right here. We do have a dedicated space. This is on the site plan.
Okay.
So there is dedicated space for trash, and then there's 2 parking spaces on top of that.
So looking at this plan that you have right here right now, the space where the trash receptacles are going, that the property line sticks out.
The property line actually does this.
Yeah. I've never seen that before. So,
This
what?
is the property line, and this has been confirmed with the plat from the city
Uh-huh.
and from the owner had the property surveyed and staked. And so this is actually the property line that does that.
Okay, and what is there right now in that space?
Open parking lot.
That's okay. And the concern that the neighbors had was placing receptacles there or not having receptacles tidy.
That was, the concern was pretty much, adding more units, more trash cans. They will get tossed around to their lot and,
Understood. So
not
not
being in a
tidy.
tidy
Okay.
space. So we already, segregated this space for the additional trash cans and whatnot. So
Okay.
that was one thing. And let me, I'm just gonna ask for just 2 minutes. So
One
I'm
thing
gonna.
too, I just want to point out that we've done a sun study
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and um, there's almost no impact from what is a matter of right development to what is the proposed development. So the impact on light and air is negligible. We did it both. We did the sun study for the summer solstice, the winter solstice, and then the autumn and spring equinox. So we got basically the whole year. There's a little bit of extra shade here, which you can see. And that is at 9 in the morning. And then there's a little bit here. It's maybe, like a foot by 2 feet or something. So there's really a minimal impact on the neighboring properties, based on the sun studies we did for the massing. And the way that BZA dictates you do a sun study is you do it based on what you have a matter of right to build and what is being proposed, because well, that's just the way that BZA communicates. You can see there's a little bit of additional shading right here, but the impact is really minimal in terms of additional shade based on the extending the addition out another 6 feet. And also want to just bring up too that there are no windows on the sides of the building in the proposed addition. So if when the neighbors are looking at privacy issues, the addition does not have windows looking into the neighboring properties. Everything looks out into the backyard.
Understood. Commissioner Arbuckle, you had a question?
Yeah, I wanted to follow up on the in the back, that that little strange corner. So to my understanding, there is currently a like the neighbor's garage or shed they placed on part of the property. Is that
The
correct?
neighbor actually has built onto the property. Their accessory structure
Mhm.
is encroaches onto this particular property.
So
So that is correct.
What's the resolution there?
I think that here's the plat provided by the city, right? So this was provided by the city and stamped by the thing, but the property does that. There's no question. And when you're looking at the site plan, this little area, I don't think Alper is going to ask for it back. They're probably going to have an easement, which gives them the right for continued use.
Okay.
They're not looking to try to demolish any portion of that garage and the accessory structure at all.
That's correct. And we actually we tried multiple times. We left them letters. We sent a certified letter. we're not getting any response from him. So I don't know, that this was one of the concerns that I wanted to address with him personally, but we couldn't get a
And
hold
one
of him.
thing we're also doing, which allows them the continued use of the garage, instead of putting the fence on the property line, which would make it difficult at best to navigate to the garage, we're pulling the fence right here, which creates the area for the trash, but still lets a car to continue on to what is Alper's property, but it allows the neighbor still to have full access to the two-car garage.
Understood. Commissioner Roblin, you had a question or comment?
Um, yeah, well, a couple things.
Okay.
So yeah, we also tried multiple times to reach Mr. Abdul Salam at 11:52, and it was just not happening. I sent a snail mail letter, etc.
Okay.
But the issue is that if, um, I mean, he's going to, if whoever buys it could definitely force him to pay thousands of dollars to get rid of it. So I forgot what that word is, but if there's not an agreement before it's sold, I mean, then he's going to end up paying possibly, maybe, probably thousands of dollars to deal with
Well,
destroy.
that's not entirely
Yeah,
it can
the
be dealt
easement.
with the bylaws of the condo association, that it's written into the bylaws. There could be a easement on that property which allows the continued use. So
Mhm.
it's really a legal matter. I don't think that there's any intent, and I'm not sure that they would have a legal right to have them demolish part of their garage because of the continued use of the garage, and that is not intent. But those issues, I think Alper has been trying for 3 months to reach this person and has had
Yeah,
no luck. It's leaving letters, trying to get phone numbers. It's just impossible. But you also have a certain responsibility as the owner of the property um, to be a little bit more responsive, but the intent of this is not to hold them hostage. And there's no intent um, to to suggest that the demo that back part of their garage.
Mhm.
But those issues can be dealt um, with the condo docs and bylaws of the condo, and it wouldn't
Mr.
allow someone
Kearley,
to come in and do something down the road.
yeah, I would ask Mr. Kearley if you can get those condo documents solidified by our public vote on next month, so it's
There's no way that's going to happen. I can tell you that
we
right now.
as
This
the
takes months
ANC
to do.
commissioners, we need to make sure that the what you're saying, you'll be able to hold your word. We're just so used to developers and people coming in trying to push through a BZA and then they don't follow through their word at the end. So you referenced something at tonight's meeting that is a concern. We brought up, this little random corner that we don't see often in property lines, and you're saying, well, we won't demolish it today, but we don't know if you're going to say something tomorrow. So if there's anything that we can get that we can ensure that that is the case,
I
and you
will
can stay
talk to
with
the
your
owners,
word,
and
we
if
would
we have
appreciate it.
something
If
in
not, it's
the
not going to be a productive vote.
Yeah, well, we want to be a good neighbor, and so if it just would be an impossibility to have condo docs drafted, because there's so much more information that is not in this drawing that goes into condo docs.
Mm-hmm.
There's also an architect's report, which has to be done after it is built, and then they have to actually survey the built condos to document them. So, but what, and I will talk to Alper after this, but what we could have is you could have something in your ANC letter that states that we've agreed to do this, and it would be binding that there could be language put into it that that would be part of the BZA order as well, that we would not we're not going to give them this land because it's worth something, but we would have that. I'm going to speak for Alper, and Alper just text me and tell
Go
me
ahead.
to shut up if you don't want me to say this, but
Yeah.
we would be happy to have something in the BZA order that specifically addresses this, that we would.
That's what we're getting at as ANC
Yeah.
commissioners.
So,
So
but yes,
if we
we
can
would.
get that, we can place that in our letter, whether we support or deny this project. But
Yeah.
I just want to make it clear that is going to be a concern, and we'll address it again in February.
No question
No.
that Alper would put the language in there that's part of the ANC recommendation and part of the BZA determination that would be binding for that we would have that language. And we
Perfect.
would work with the BZA council and Alper's council to draft that, but we could have a draft or a preliminary statement that the language, we're not attorneys and the BZA has their attorneys, and so I would say that this would be the intent of it, and then we would draft that and have that incorporated into the BZA order.
That sounds very fair to me. That everything else honestly seemed pretty, self-explanatory. Great project, keeping the aesthetic and the facade, but that's definitely a major concern. Commissioner Roblin, last question, comment?
I was not finished, actually. That was just one of the issues, but the consensus with the neighbors is negative. There are five, six, they're all unhappy with the project. They all are hoping that we'll oppose, and I'll tell you why. The idea of a 3-unit condo contradicts the intent of Morse Street. Morse is relatively smaller single-family homes, and it's not in keeping with the character. The building won't resemble the current house style in neighborhood, and people really don't want 3 units. The accessory unit is something people are not happy with. There's an accessory unit right smack dab in the middle of the yard. And
It's
people
not a separate unit, so it wouldn't be an accessory unit. It's an accessory structure that ties into the units in the primary building. And just one thing to understand, that accessory structure is a matter of right.
Yes, it is.
We're not asking for relief from that. And so it's the two things we're asking for relief is the extension beyond the 10 feet and the 3 units, not the accessory structure. Now, I know this is seen as the whole proposal and people look at that, but I know go ahead.
Me?
Did you finish, Commissioner Roblin? Because I had a follow-up question.
No. Also, people are saying the price of the units won't be affordable housing for middle to low income families, the parking, and then the issues with Mr. Abdul Salam. And people are really wanting me to oppose, and I see what they're saying, and I really can't go against the community. So at this point, unless they were coming up with some ideas for changes. And maybe if you're making some of these changes, the community might be more amenable. Otherwise, I feel the responsibility to honor what the community wants and the neighbors want. So there's a couple things that you could do. And one is to set back the 3rd story 8 feet from the rear base of the turret roof. Another is to set back the rooftop deck in additional 6 feet from the front facade of the 3rd story. And then another is to eliminate or move to the far rear of the lot, the accessory building. And I think the community would be a lot more amenable if any of these were done by you.
Okay. I will talk with Alper about that. I can't make a decision for the client.
Yeah, of
but
course.
we hear what you, and I will talk to Alper and my client.
And Mr. Keeley, just because we're running out of time here, we're over. But thank you for presenting tonight. This was very helpful. I think we got a lot of things that we needed to address after our last committee meeting. Have y'all dropped any plans for just 2 units instead of 3? Commissioner Roblin brings up a very, very big point. A majority of the development done in Trinidad is not turning into 3 units when it comes to these kind of buildings that are in place. So our commission hasn't been strongly in support of this kind of development, but my curiosity is, have y'all even dropped plans for at least 2 units?
I have not drawn plans as the architect because I wasn't given that direction by my client. It the 3 units has been something where BZA has typically granted the 3 units almost as a matter of right if you meet the 900 square foot threshold.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're at over 2,800 square feet. I know I've actually designed a 3 unit building on this block. And there's also in mid block on the south side, there's a number of 3 unit buildings on this block. So the 3 units is consistent with past relief given by BZA throughout the RF1 zone districts in the city. And so we don't believe the relief we're looking for is significant with just the 2 special exceptions. The issue with moving this accessory structure back, what that means is you lose the first floor of that then has to be a garage because you have to have the parking. So that's part of the zoning regulations is to parking. So you would lose a significant square footage on this. But we will consider, I don't want to say no to anything, and I appreciate the concerns of the neighbors. I will talk to Alper. We can't make a decision tonight in 5 minutes, but we understand concerns and we will review that, and we would make any revisions to the drawings before the 11th so you could the ANC could see any modifications even if they're minor. So we will look at that.
And then final question for tonight. You all are set to present in person at our community meeting at 371 Moore Street on February 11th. The meeting starts at 7 o'clock, but most likely you all won't be presenting until 8:30, 9 o'clock or so. If for some reason the commission wants to move forward with a vote and not approve this project, would you all prefer to wait another month, such as in the month of March, to see if a more productive vote would arise, or would y'all move forward with the hearing on calendar and what the ANC produces?
That's a loaded question. I would have to talk to Alper and get back to you on that.
Okay, let us know. Let us know, because we want to be very frank and honest. And also we want to work with y'all. So
sure. And I let me just have one quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
And the COW, what is that an acronym for?
Committee of a Whole. This is where we meet and discuss business before placing it on a vote for our public meeting the following in 2 weeks.
Okay, and are the same commissioners here tonight, the commissioners that will be voting on the 11th? Are there additional?
We're just missing 3 commissioners. At the COW, we can't take votes. We can only discuss business, but we cannot.
Do you make a recommendation to the full ANC?
In terms of how they vote?
Yeah, well, as a committee, do you say, well, as a committee, we vote to approve or we vote to oppose?
No. The committee doesn't.
You just share information.
Yes, they always provide our feedback. They're our first set of eyes, the first wall that you have to go through.
Okay, and then there'll be 3 additional commissioners who are not present that will be voting on the 11th.
Yes, and they're very in favor of community, FYI. So you'll have 8 commissioners holding a vote on February 11th.
Okay. Well, we will definitely get back to you.
Yes.
The
Yes.
issue is if we push this a month, then we push BZA a month.
Mhm.
And so I would think if we're going to make any modifications, we would want to make those modifications prior to the 11th. So,
Mhm.
but I will talk to Alper and we'll share with you as soon as possible the direction.
Sure, perfect. You have our contact information. If you don't, my direct email is 5D as in dog 05 at anc.dc.gov. And
Okay.
we do have you set to be on the agenda for February, so you are there. You will get a vote, but just so we're all open and honest, if you all feel or if you think that the vote won't be in favor of something that you're going to present, we are always open just to withhold that vote and just wait another month to get some things cleared up. I know that's not the preference of any developer, any project that's already on the BZA calendar, but it's not the first time folks have asked for a continuance just to get a better resolution on the project. So,
Okay, well, we will definitely communicate with you in the coming days before the end of this week what the intention would be, because if we're looking at February's already coming up at the end of this week, so we don't have a lot of time. So
No,
I
I
will talk to
understand.
Alper and we will communicate with you as quickly and as clearly as we can.
Perfect. We appreciate that. And again, thank you, gentlemen, for joining us tonight. If you have any follow-up questions, you know how to reach us. You know how to reach Commissioner Roblin, who's the commissioner for this single member district. You have my email address. And you-
All right. Someone's, I think you just froze, but so thank you for your time and consideration tonight, and we will circle back in the coming days.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Take care, everybody. Thank you
have a good
again.
night.
I'll send you a note. Thank you.
So it looks like we just have Miss Sarah Kate in the waiting room for the interview. We'll go ahead and I'll go ahead and lead the interview as I did for Jeremiah Montague. I will note at tonight's meeting, I did receive a very last minute resume from a I think some of y'all might be on the no, it's just me and Hector. Me and Hector received a very last minute resume at 6:08 p.m. From Justin Urich. Does anyone know Justin? No. Okay. Um, since the submission's last minute and they're not on the Zoom at this time, we'll just move forward and interview Miss Sarah Kate. Are there any issues with that?
I don't have an issue. I just have a series of questions before we do it.
Go ahead.
Can we hop in with questions or what's the typical process?
I prefer that just for their sake, because we've obviously delayed their time because we said 8 o'clock for this interview for them. Feel free to hop in with questions. I'll lead the questions because I'll try to ask. I'm asking the same questions I asked Jeremiah Montague, but
Okay.
just for folks that are still on the live stream on YouTube, this is a position for the historian position project that we've established last commission. We decided to pay $5,000 for a project to develop what was a repository of the land history for ANC 5D, which includes all the neighborhoods, Ivy City, Union Market, Gallaudet, Carver, Langston, Trinidad. And the focus will be to literally create sources of history and information of our land so residents are more aware of the history of ANC 5D in terms of the land that it encompasses. So we're looking for a historian that can not only do the research, but also work with community to ensure that the history project is fully engaged with residents, their own knowledge of the areas that we call home, and to ensure that this information is readily available and presentable to the public. So that's the goal with hiring a historian. The goal is to Also, for administrative purposes, the goal is to pay them half in advance and then the other half when they complete the project. And I think Commissioner Arbuckle, correct me if I'm wrong, we expect maybe potentially 9 months to a year for this project, depending on the extent of information that they're collecting and the presentations that they're doing.
I don't remember.
Okay, I want to say 9 months because I thought a baby. So this is a baby since it's something new. Any questions before I let Miss Sarah Kay in? Okay, perfect. Miss Sarah Kay, you're on the Zoom. Thank you so much for waiting 45 minutes for us to hold the interview. Can you unmute yourself and get on camera for us?
I'm talking to you as my mic is muted.
Okay.
This is Zach. I'm so grateful to you guys for meeting me after all this time. It's really wonderful. So nice to meet you, Commissioner Saucedo Guzman. So nice to see you in person, Anna, and Commissioner Hector Arbuckle and Commissioner Sabrina. I don't know if you prefer Commissioner Sabrina
Yes, Rose.
and Commissioner McCrae. Yeah, this is great. I've been, hoping to meet you guys because I've been really interested in your community, being a member of Ward 5, but a different part of Ward 5. And I don't know if it's okay, but I thought I was supposed to present, so I made a presentation.
Of
And
course, go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
pray that it's okay.
And we'll ask questions after. So go ahead.
You can stop me and ask questions throughout. I was just trying to think what I would want to know. And so I tried to give you a little back. Well, I'll just get to it. So you can go on and do the rest of your interviews without further delay. Okay. So, uh, okay. So, big money that this works. I teach on Zoom all the time. You'd think I would know what I was doing. Okay. Okay, great. How many slides can you see? Oh, wait, no, I've got to do this. One or two?
Just one?
Okay, good.
Okay, perfect.
Because my notes say stuff like, slow down. So I just thank you all very, very much for taking the time to interview me. I've been deeply engaged in volunteerism in this city, and I recognize that being a commissioner is volunteer position, and that you are very, very busy and are doing great, passionate work in a time that working in government is perilous. That's personal opinion. You can take what you want from that. But you're endeavoring to create an archive and contemporary history as well of Ward 5D has really struck me as noble, meaningful, and incredibly timely. I've been excited to apply and to participate since reading about your mission in September. And another reason, my mother's side is Chicano, which is Chicanos are Mexican Californians, Mexican Americans. Are you? All right. Well, you know this. I don't know. I'm older than you, but my grandmother's culture and history of we have new immigrants in our family, but hundreds of years back, was seemed to not be in history books that I grew up with. And you know, it just seemed like one day I looked and like, was this erased except for Spanish missionaries? So it was ignored, and that confused me of its importance. And now I think things are changing. At Berkeley we have Chicano studies, but I find it really important to find voices and history for everyone. And I think it brings us all closer to the truth and to personal empowerment. Um, and so this is my presentation. I give you a little of my background, and you can ask me more questions if you want. Little thing about the project and just some aspects of Ward 5D. Um, and maybe some questions I'm thinking of in starting the research, and how I go about it, my methodology. Basically, as a historian, professor and historian that does public history. So background, there's just some things to highlight my work and interest, but I have a concern for access to information and experience and through an anthropological lens, and I have a background in social history and artistic history. And I invested in the communities of DC for the last, gosh, it's been a long time. um, 15 years in Ward 5, and I'm a guardian to a young girl who spends, sometimes I stay with her and her mother in Ivy City. So that's how I got excited about this project, because I go around with her and we start asking questions. I'm resourceful and experienced at research, and I've been doing oral histories for several projects. Not only my thesis, which was Arab Americans, the history of Arab Americans in Detroit and their public access, public engagement. And then I've been doing oral histories for a research fellowship where I looked at crafts, history of certain silver trade crafts from Africa to Spain, and the kind of globalism up to from Mexico City to New Mexico, and I interviewed present day people carrying on those traditions, um, and am working on an actual museum exhibition at the Folk Museum in Santa Fe, and I've learned that listening, respect, and really creating a comfortable rapport reaps unforeseen benefits. In, open-ended questions, and listening. And I definitely have a background in a lot of social historical research. I've been working on archival data projects. In Bloomingdale itself, I worked on a research on Chrysosatics Park and its different, history of uses for the Bloomingdale Historical Society. Also, uncovered the history of the first ever African American run modern art gallery. That was right here. And the Barnett Newman Gallery. I'm so proud of that. It was amazing. It's amazing who came through it. And it's been written about by PhDs, but it needs to be written about in an accessible way, in my opinion, with footnotes if anyone wants to further research, but for people to read and to take ownership of. And I feel like I have this objective. I'm intentional about uncovering, archiving, and sharing valuable kind of thought-provoking information with anyone who'd benefit from it. And I researched about ANCs, and they were created to bring the government closer to the people and to give people more say in their neighborhoods. And I intend to match those values in my research. And there's so much to uncover and celebrate in Ward 5D. And I'm thinking, when I start out, how do people know this? How do people access this if it's just buried in archives? How do you make that So I have some ideas I'll show you at the end that have sparked my interest, but it's essential to be mindful of how or not history is used differently. And this includes the original inhabitants and keepers of this land, and not just not like giving a nod to them, but like really including this to the present day. And it's an opportunity to empower people with a history that happened right before them that they may never have known. So, I think we're all the fact that you commissioners have thought of this project, you're committed to this history, and the people of Ward 5 deserve to know and be proud of it. And I think the residents have a wealth of history to share, just from the little talking that I have done. And it's like, I had asked to see some of the work that already been done, but it might not be available this time. But there is a Ward 5 history of the Washington Preservation Society, and I'll get to that. So I was looking at things. This is from the census, and this is just Ward 5 in general. Ward 5D was harder for me to parse, and these are just statistics. It's not a full accounting of the people. And I'm doing this really through the lens of racial equity, considering all peoples, including marginalized people, highlighting their contributions, developments in their community history, the economics, and other factors affecting their lives and the life of this area, which is vibrant. And so here is the Ward 5 preservation, the history trail. And it was written a while ago, in like 2005, 2007. And it's a story of historic preservation, but not of the people. But you would think it would be based on what it says. But people are very important. We will look at land. We will look at maps. We will look at aerial photos and even Google Street Views for present day. But people's voices, people's histories, I think attract people, but it could still be there are other data that are useful resources. And when I say some places of note, I'm just showing some things I've noticed, because the oral histories are going to only create more scope and depth to the story. So, quickly, there are 7 tribes in DC, and much of what is thought in terms of native life ends up being a racist mascot for a football team. And that's just, I think, we've all kind of gotten to that. But there are 4,000 tribal members living in DC today. So we want to know the past, but the American Indian and Indigenous history is uh, part of what I study. Needs to be more acknowledgement of the Indigenous past and the Indigenous present in stories and histories, if there are any in 5D. And I would imagine with 4,000 people, there are some in 5D. And for that, I would look to archives at the National Museum of American Indian, and there's a bunch of resources online, as well as at the Library of Congress. But then I thought, who's the commissioner for Carver Langston? Okay.
That's me.
Oh, hi, sorry. Sorry, Commissioner McRae, because it says Shar, so I'm like, Shar. So Graceland Cemetery was in your neighborhood, founded in 1871. It was secular. And it was still served as a city's African American community. And then there was a transfer of the remains in 1884 in DuPont, and later it was moved to another seminary, the remains. So, questions about remains are an interesting question to get into. I know when I lived in New York, I uncovered an freed African American burial ground under a building, You know, what is that stuff, that's the story, and you put out there, and then you let people interpret as they will, you know, as they can. It's your responsibility to put the information fair and square, as truthful and honestly as you can for, you know, resources. And then I think this is also known, the really stunning dwellings of Carver Langston, you know, beautiful public housing projects that were beautifully done. And in my opinion, as someone who's researched this, why can't affordable housing be well made and well designed? Why is the first thing to go when we get affordability is design? And here you see it doesn't have to. And I'm interested, this is probably random, but I'm interested in the history of this. What was there before? What were the original stores? How long? How important is it in the community? Why not? Union Market. This is what was Union Market. Who's the commissioner for Union Market?
Me? Hello.
Oh, Commissioner Hector. Okay, so this market was the largest market in DC, and then it became one site of the archives. And then we hear this is taken from the market. It has a history page. So there's a lot more for me to uncover just on the history page, you know, just based on this. These are just little bits. But it was here's a photo in 1931 of the Erie Union Market. It had 700 stalls and a mixing of peoples. And this is some other digging I did. Union Market was a scene of a lot of films. And here is an area, the Downtown Motel, which is now Motel 6, was a kind of a hideout in A Few Good Men. And also there was, I remember when I would come down, I moved here to take care of an elderly relative. But when I was coming down to relieve another relative to help her, what we do? We take care of our elderly. I would go kind of to, right near here was a big, like loft kind of cement building space where you could see jazz or dances or art shows. And it'd be interesting to know what happened there and what became it. I know famous musicians that I knew from New York played there. And so here it is today. And so it's been a lot of, like, when they want gritty scenes, they would go to Union Market. I think that's very funny now because you can also go to Pastis. And Gallaudet, obviously we have the Gallaudet, and it'd be, you know, look at now how Gallaudet was, you know, is the first and only deaf university, but and look at how they integrated into the community with businesses for the deaf. It branched out and affected all of Washington and into Hyattsville. But cows graze there on the grounds, and community bought milk there. Who's from Gallaudet? Who does Gallaudet area? Oh, well.
Since it's a university, it's a mix of a couple of the commissioners that border that area, but I think Union Market and Gallaudet kind of are combined at this time.
Okay, thank you. So what I thought was interesting is that Gallaudet was, I did a little deep dive on it. It was formerly segregated. So it's interesting to me that, and I would just put that out there, you know, not little interpretations, but this is between us, that a marginalized community does not necessarily mean you're progressive. And so it's also, in 1984, Prince Rogers Nelson ended up doing a concert there, but he couldn't have done so a generation before. And I don't find a lot of Civil War data for any of these areas, and that would be interesting to know. but I know that it's out there. I'll find it. Mount Olivet Cemetery so this is Ivy, no, this is Trinidad. So at one point it was created in 1858 when the city council of District of Columbia said you couldn't make new cemeteries bounded by the boundary street northwest and northeast and 15th Street East and East Capitol and Potomac River and Rock Creek. So that was 1852. So, but from the start, Mount Olivet was racially integrated and most cemeteries were not. So, and there's all sorts of interesting facts about it. There's a diplomat, soldiers, one who was a recipient of a Medal of Honor in the Civil War, other notables. There's a Major League Baseball player, two ambassadors, a Supreme Court justice. Also in Trinidad, there was a baseball stadium. I just found that out, and I actually have a picture of it, but I didn't add it to this thing. But it's great. It was an American League baseball stadium, there was land in Trinidad, a lot of land. And then this is Tony's Boxy's gym, which I always find interesting to pass by. And I read an interview of someone who works there, and there's a program there where he would, bring students in, have them do homework, kind of an after-school program, do cardio, jump rope, sprints. I try to give them an education, Salem Abdullah was saying. And he says, I love what I do. This city has changed, but it's always been a boxing city. So why not uncover that history of boxing and its role in 5D? And then these are just there's so much more. I'm just saying, so I have more experience with Ivy City as I'm this co-guardian and I spend time, and wherever I spend time, I'm curious about. But this is taken from Empower DC website. There was someone on here that was with Empower DC. I can't. Oh, yes. Commissioner Sabrina Rhodes. Yeah, and this really is wonderful, something to build off of. And it looks like it was made with a humanities grant from the DC government. Anyway, I put an audio from it, but we don't have time, but I felt like be respectful of the next people, but it creates such a vibrant image of the people who make up this section. And
this is live in Ivy City.
Oh, isn't that cute? It's so cute. Okay, so the Crummell School, dedicated to teaching African Americans since 1911. And look, it's on the Register of Historic Preservation and Historic Places. And in 2016, it's part of redevelopment plan, and the building is still vacant, but it's being reimagined into a community center. And I've observed researchers doing behavioral mapping, which is something I do when I work at the Baltimore Museum doing oral histories and understanding how the public accesses it, but also behavioral mapping, where you see how people use the space. And it's really ripe for revival. I don't know where it's at now, and I hope things go forward. But I'd like to create an oral history of interviews of people who may have gone to Crummell or taught there or were engaged in or affected in it by some way, because they're out there. I met someone who taught there before and talked to him in a long time, but it was before I knew about this project, so I couldn't take information. So there's the DC Library Community Archive Collection. This was commissioned by the DC Public Library. And this is the Ivy City Museum. So there's about 3 or 4 I think Empower DC might have it on their page too. So that would definitely have to be in the archive. And here, I thought Green Hat Distillery was the first distillery in Ivy City. Glorious Art Gallery was an art gallery that is part of the gay community. And the sign is there, but I can't decipher if it's still open. But these are all part of the change and also the continuation of diversity that are in little pockets of 5T. And other points about there was a horse track in Ivy City. I think it was on New York Avenue. There's a tent city in Ivy City where Italian workers lived as they built Union Station. There's a factory that was kind of on Capitol Ave and been there since the 1940s that are in a controversy in charge of environmental racism that could be unpacked. Like, what is the data? What is the EPA data? What are both sides saying? And how can you put it out there for people to learn and feel empowered by? And then there's a graffiti wall. It has some beautiful, usually wild style. This is wild style with a mix of bubble lettering. Like Brooklyn style and South Bronx. And I'm just interested in, because that's something world I used to be a part of, but it's like, how did that become a place of artistic expression? Why that wall? Who are the writers? Because there are some writers that appear again and again, and they don't tag, they put up pieces. Like a piece is short for masterpiece, which means you have like 3 colors or more. And a fade is a blend. So some of these are really good pieces. And so some questions I had to begin with, what did this look like before Europeans? What was the makeup before and after the revolutions and the Civil War? Has land ownership and land use changed, and how? How do you build and engage something engaging and accessible archive for people in the community and beyond? And that's just like starting points. One idea is to look at what Alexandria has done on a larger scale. At least I found this. It's it's here is their oral history project, and I can give you links to it. They have an archaeology part, community records, and remembrance project. But the part that interested me is how they the online oral history archive. It's indexed by name, neighborhoods, subject, keywords, and places. So that could be useful for any researcher or any, junior high or elementary school student that's doing a project. And then they also have, then you could put more resources on the side. And then they have a remembrance project that has to do with the African American history and presence in Alexandria that, it just blew my mind. I just, how wonderfully organized. I mean, this must have been a mountain of work, but it's something to shoot for as one thing. I mean, I think ultimately having engagements and presentations in person with the community is the best way to start, accessing information, having in-person engagement and asking them questions and letting them ask you questions, not talking at like I'm doing now. I don't know if anyone's interested in my methodology, but I did write it out, some of it. So I've gone through a bunch of, I tried to create for myself what I would want to hit first, as resources. One would be this non-circulating library at the Kiplinger Research Library in the DC History Center. Washingtonian History Magazine is a scholarly publication that has articles on Washington's past. I mean, it says available only through membership when I looked at it, but that doesn't mean I can't go to the Library of Congress and get it, and might be able to access it through the university, the college, the community college that I teach. And research guides on DC history, like building history would be a good place to start for building history. the DC Public Library has a Washington collection at the MLK branch. And Dig DC is an online portal that has a lot of digitized images and maps and oral histories as well. I could dig through that. And of course, Library of Congress. You've got the prints and photographs and geography and map division all document the city's development and changes, urban changes over time. The archives at College Park, good for government documents that are pertinent to urban development. George Washington University, there's a special collections research center that has urban planning and local history. Georgetown Booth Family Center for Special Collections, also social and political history. And online sources, I found an interactive project that's great called Mapping Segregation in DC, and DC Digital Museum, that's Humanities DC. These are things you probably all know about, but it took me a while to locate them. But I think engaging with these institutions and resources will provide me a more comprehensive foundation. It's like a starting place for the research in the urban history. And tools, fire insurance maps, topographical city maps, digitized GIS maps, aerial photographs from land studies, street views, historical and modern, not just, Google Street Views, census data, demographic, household data, population, ethnic and racial data. I mean, I just have to, sift through to see what is pertinent to you guys as well. These are the resources I have located, and you would have to, say those aren't priorities. Don't go off on a goose chase. But these are things that I've found that could be useful. And I think oral histories and personal narratives really are going to give firsthand accounts of the changes in neighborhoods, and community history projects, work with community to do a history project that are for things that go missing from the official record. Come on, like anyone that has a background in social science know that it's not just written. And how do I work as a historian? So this would be the last thing. I start with the focus, that I already laid out. I find gaps in the current work, like I'm trying to do right now with Board 5D, or find out what's been done, locate, gather resources, and through this process, kind of build a bridge to the past, making it relevant and understandable. That's important to me for current and future generations. You want to explain what happened, put out the data for them, but then give a hint about why that matters. When you're talking to people, when you present, this is why this matters. If they don't know how to access, if you can help them access, well, this is why you want to access this. So, I formulate questions, you go through specific research questions, guide your inquiry, like try to understand the motivations behind an event, the impact of a policy, the experiences of the people, then primary, secondary resources, archival research, probably keep a research journal. And then like make sure that documents like align the documents with major events or social changes to understand them in historical context. So, is this happening within some kind of political, cultural, economic shift? So if someone's looking at it, there'll be a link to these other things that are happening, or you just have a cohesive story. You're not writing something as big as the Oxford English Dictionary here, but something accessible and relevant. So sometimes I make tools, like I'm learning to do like digital graphs to help visualize historical events, letting people spot trends and sequences that might not be obvious to isolated ones. And then I always evaluate and analyze my sources. Kind of what purpose is that written, and contextual analysis, comparative, like look at multiple source. I mean, I'm probably giving you basics, but can you corroborate? Are there patterns to get a fuller understanding of the perspectives that people? I mean, I come with a perspective and I try to gather data without that. And then you interpret the findings, you synthesize and categorize and create timelines and map out, and you develop, if you want, if you're making an archive, you want to help people who are working with it develop their arguments and challenge perspectives. Because you can take one bit of historical data and look at it from so many different points of view. And then communicating the findings, presenting the evidence, crafting something, and balancing both data, analysis, and storytelling, and hopefully getting feedback, like peer review. I would like, us to go over it, other people, other public historians to talk and, but also engage the public, like lecture, teach, give them things, not lecture, but more like converse. And because they have probably just more knowledge, but, help engage and help them find the tools, maybe even create things with the public. I mean, maybe even contribute what findings to ongoing debates. But I think I think the project that you guys have lined out can build a bridge to the past and make it relevant and understandable for current and future peoples and ongoing. It'll set it up so it can, people can keep adding. Like, it's not, you want to explain what happened, but like also give a sense of why it matters. And keeping track, you might not be interested in this, but I find it interesting. Journaling for me about findings and reflections. Okay, is this biased? Is this, what is, I have personal biases about equity and racial equity, but that just informs why I'm doing this work. It wouldn't inform what the work is, what it informs why I am and what my eyes and what stories I know are not being told and how I'm going to look for that. End of week reviews, if I could, I set myself dates and schedules, and I keep handwritten lists every day, but I'm always on a timer, always on a schedule, so I can be on time and respect people's time. So if you guys want to meet with me, I'll make sure that I have everything ready to go over with you. And there's Gantt charts, there's all sorts of apps you can use for goal setting, but basically focusing on outcomes, just not time spent, I think is important to me, like setting those checkpoints and kind of managing the time around that. And I'd love to like interact with you guys as I go. I think the way to measure the work, first of all, for me, is fostering community engagement, which is you have to do the work, but public engagement, is it shared on social media, through local press, through, how are you getting responses? Track the progress on making the archives accessible. Like, can I bring it to the local libraries? Can I make it something used in Ward 5D? Any partnerships with institutions that could be made? Maybe Empower DC I could partner with, or there are other schools. And tracking the variety and depth of sources, like, is it too much of one or not enough of another? And maybe I was thinking focus groups and workshops that involve community members and what's important for them to uncover, not just what I find, right? Like what they want to know, because to me, that's the ultimate measuring point, not just from a historian's perspective, or I'm actually an anthropological historian, but maybe also to get stakeholder, interview these members of the community, and not just one person, but different types of people from all walks of life, to make sure that I get diverse voices and feedback. So like at various points throughout this project, be like, okay, this is what I'm doing. These are things I've got. What else would you like to see in here? What do you know about that I could follow up on? And that's where I think social sciences and working in museums and teaching helps me, because I'm learn more from people. They give me more ideas of where to go. I think impact too. Eventually you'll find out if there's an impact on policy or on awareness. Just count instances where the projects are used in schools and whether it's fostering any kind of community engagement. I mean, those are things I'm looking for. I mean, it's a big project. It could be unwieldy, but if it's broken down into types of things, it's doable. It's doable. So I have questions for you, but I'll wait. I could go now, or I could wait for your questions for me.
So thank you so much for the presentation. I'm a visual person, so I appreciate this. And you actually answered all the questions that I asked our previous applicants. I will ask two questions, being that you kind of sparked something in me to touch on. But in terms of going back to that portion of potential research or this project, in terms of presenting in front of groups of people that might have their own internal history or stories, how are you receptive towards that? And how do you confirm, or what's the word I'm looking for? How can you find the receipts, I guess, for the information that's being shared, to know if it's true or not to a certain extent?
So you're asking me, like, if I'm in an oral history interview? Oh,
Yeah.
well, I wouldn't challenge them. I would not challenge them. I would ask them, what makes you say that? What I always do when I'm asking people to engage in something, if they give me an opinion or something that I don't know is false or not, I just ask them to show me where they get that idea from,
Hmm.
and I wouldn't really push them. I either elaborate, and maybe they do come to there is something behind it that's truthful. There might be kernels of truth. I can't jurisdicate that all the time. And it might lead to something more. Or you take this down and you research it later.
Mm.
But I'm never going to put someone on the spot, especially if they are sharing with me.
Hmm. Hmm.
They're they're like, my question would be, well, what else you got to say?
Hmm.
What more? There might be leading you somewhere that you can't cut that off.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know why not question if you know the truth? Like, if I know what's true, I mean, I would have to like take it back, question myself, and let them speak, and then go back and do the research like anyone does that, writes an interview, like clarify and verify and find out, wow, they've really changed my opinion, or wow, look what this might not be verifiable, but this is, and if it's for an oral history, they're speaking their history. I mean, who am I to like justicate how they present themselves? But I think if they're egregiously lying, well, then maybe, like, there's I don't know, trying to think of something.
No, it sounds like you know how to digest information. My only concern with anyone that takes on the project for this historian matter is they might a lot of story, history, from information, honestly. And we just want to ensure that there's ways to kind of evaluate that and ensure that it's well, to an extent true, because history is full of stories, right? And and a lot of it's based on someone's interpretation or
Oh
data
yeah.
or evidence that's available. So knowing that a lot of our community still has a lot of elders that still have a lot of knowledge within them, we always want to ensure that nothing is just too embellished or exaggerated, because sometimes our passions or memories can get the best of us. So thanks for
That
answering that question.
those are great learning opportunities,
Mm.
because you compare two people talking about the same thing.
Mm.
And the truth sometimes comes somewhere in between. That's why you look, like I said, you evaluate multiple resources. And it might be something to put on an index. It's always great to compare.
Mm. Okay. Okay,
Uh,
perfect.
because it
Um,
allows them their voice. And especially, this is more complicated than just a straight factual history. Your human history, you're right, is fallible, but it's also, um, that's kind of the beauty of it. And it's also like I do oral histories, in projects, and
hmm.
um I, especially with Latino artists, and yeah, they'll embellish sometimes if they're older. You're right, if they're older. But it's kind of like giving a voice to voiceless. So
Yes.
why not? That's I'd say there's part of it that is their kids are going to see this. Their kids are going to have a document of something to be proud of, you know, and you can always maybe create a tutorial of like how you understand an oral history, and that, because it shouldn't be taken as fact, you know, ever, even when you hear people on podcasts and stuff. Memory, I have a concussion. And so, you know, my memory from a certain time period in my life, man, it's not so great. But so, you know, yeah, I think that it's like a photograph, right? You take a photograph and we treat photographs as facts,
Mhm.
but they are manipulated. The photographer takes a picture of what they want to take.
The
And
angle.
even
True.
further, more, it's not
Mhm.
really truth. If you were but it's presented as such. And if we were more subjective and personal about our photography, that'd probably be closer to the truth. But so it's amazing what we live around and we think are our truth, which we don't understand how manipulated they are.
Understood. Okay. I have one final question, but I'll leave it for your closing remark, honestly. So, if there's any commissioners that have questions, feel free to ask now. If not, we'll allow Miss Sarah Kate to go ahead and ask her questions before we conclude the interview. Commissioner Arbuckle, did you have any questions? To make sure you had a time to ask one if you needed one. You were very thorough to make sure that you covered all your bases in the
Yeah.
presentation. So, um,
I've been thinking about this for a long time, and it's exciting
If we have more
project.
questions, can we send you in an email?
Yes, love to hear from you, Commissioner Hector.
I
um,
can't think of anything right now.
and Miss Sarah Kate, I will probably send you an email about a different project. So I have all my you answered literally all my questions and you answered the one that popped up for this interview, but just expect also another email for a separate matter from me. So just
Okay, if
remember.
I did anything bad, let me know so I can learn from it.
No, no, no. This I think you did. You think you did well for me. You gave me ideas for something else, so I'm excited about that. But with that being said, I don't see any other questions from the commissioner. So if you have any questions for us, feel free to ask, and then I'll ask my final one for the night.
Okay, yes, I had some questions. It goes way back. So there was previous research done. I wondered if it'll ever be made available, like if anyone who gets the job, like if I get it or someone else, like
Mhm.
can look at it. And also when you said land history, I was assuming that it meant the history of land use before the British and after. Okay.
So
And
yeah. So when it comes to the land history, we're looking for pretty much pre-colonial to today. We really want neighbors and residents of ANC 5D to be conscious of the lands that they step on. I think a lot of transients or new residents aren't aware that these are native lands. This is a black city. It
right,
was built by people of color for multitudes of generations and hundreds of years, and sometimes they're not aware of that history.
4,000 years.
Yes, yes.
And
So,
honestly, actually, no, it's 15,000 in some parts of
yep.
DC. There was burial mounds, but that's very interesting to me, having grown up a daughter of someone that dedicated his life to the rights of American Indians.
Mm,
So I just want to make sure that it wasn't just, oh yeah, we're gonna say this, that you really mean it,
hmm
that it's like
hmm
it's a concern.
hmm
And I'm doing my best. Who
Yeah,
knows?
and that's why we expect the project to take a multitude of time, just because it's not something you can do on a weekend or uh even in a semester per se. Like it's a thorough project with very diverse and beautiful neighborhoods that we want to touch on. So
It's
um
fantastic.
yeah.
So I,
Um yeah, go
uh,
ahead.
I'm sorry, the next question I
Yeah.
have,
hmm
um, I like, would you tell me what was left out of the research that you really wanted to be included? And just eventually in the future, if that
Oh,
comes to that, I guess I would be curious.
yeah, I think we would continuously have conversations amongst myself and Commissioner Arbuckle, who are leading the project, with the historian to ensure that we're going in the right direction. Not that we want to tamper with your style of work or
Oh,
research,
that's what I was
but
my next question.
yeah, but I think a way for us to what's the word I'm looking for us to kind of test what we're doing, we were looking for eventual community presentations on neighborhoods that would kind of be opportunities for either clarifications from residents or even addition of information from them when we do those small little presentations. So one of the questions I was going to ask is, and you answered it like pretty specifically with your resume because you have the experience of sharing information with folks that might not know it, aka students. So that's what we're looking for to kind of test the direction of the project and see how it's going to ensure that we have a good final product.
That's my hope, is that I would be allowed to continuously check in with certain vested, interested community members, hopefully a diverse amount, but like to check in, like, this is what I've got. Is there more that you want to know about? What is, just check in with stakeholders,
Okay.
and more than 3 times. I mean, more than like just once a community, like maybe once or twice. I would like to be able to have engaged of some engaged members who feel excited about it, and you know start getting a sense of why this is worthwhile, and give me their opinion. I'm sorry, kept talking.
No, you're fine. Commissioner Rhodes, you had a question?
Yes, sir. Just a couple things. The book, the Ivy City book, that
Yeah, a great
I
book.
I'm in possession of. That book is only one, and I'm in possession of it.
Ooh, check
Is
out
it
all
the
the
zine?
spells.
Was it the zine or the
It's one of the zines, and I have it at the clubhouse.
I have a PDF of it. Not it's I haven't seen it all. Oh,
Yeah,
oh, lucky you.
and I have to put it in a safe. And also, um, we have a lot of at being the community organizer with Empower DC in Ivy City. We have a lot of meetings. We have a lot of
A
um,
meeting tonight, wasn't there?
no,
Last night? Okay, there was a meeting and I missed it.
but we do have a lot of meetings. Have you, as far as with agencies rebuilding the community and with the renovation of Carmel? So, have you joined us in any of those meetings? Because you did say that you come to Ivy City,
I
and
have.
if you did bring out the information that Empower DC created. Have you been at any of the meetings that we hold for the community? Because in these meetings, we have stakeholders and folks that lived in the community um, for generations. So
Yeah.
have you spoken with any of the community members? We're not hard to find. It's,
If I can answer, I
yeah,
actually have. And I haven't, not in a capacity as someone doing their history, but I have come to several of the meetings and held by Empowered DC and the representative Adam Ortiz with the EPA and just followed that and followed the issues there. Um, and been it's really impressive how organized Empowered DC is. And I've met people at the meetings, but only I've only been there because I'm not a voting member of that population to observe and to bring a little girl to show her what's going on in the community. I mean, we go to the meetings at the Baptist church. I think it's Baptist church. The church, right off.
Trinity. Okay.
Does that help? Does that help? I actually have been.
Perfect. Well, the last question, just to end the interview, since we're 3 minutes away from 1 hour, why should we vote to select you as the historian for this project over the other applicants?
Well, first of all, I don't know the other applicants, but I'm sure that they are talented and well-educated, as this city is full of well-educated people, and that they um, speak. I guess I would say I hope they speak to you well, with respect. But I know that through this process, I'll build a bridge to the past, making the data and the stories relevant and understandable for future generations and the current, and make it current and bring something current about it. And I hope my work not only explains what happened, but why it matters and allows this community to appreciate, learn, and build. Just not learn from hardships, but also build on, because it has a rich history and a rich community. And I can just say, I'm resourceful and I am dedicated to the history of racial equality. I've seen a history in my own family missing, you know, completely missing. I mean, I present as my last name, a Norwegian, but certainly doesn't look like my grandparents of Boyle. But I don't think it should matter that I have a history of a side of marginalized. I think what matters is I do good work and can speak to people with openness and respect. And I think that, and can do good dedicated work and be respectful of time and you people and what you want and be in communication. But, you know, I'm imaginative, I'm resourceful, and I like to get along. But I have to say, I hope whoever you hire is as resourceful and passionate, about your project as I am, because I think it deserves it's a wonderful project. It's a monumental project, but it deserves passion to keep it going.
Mhm. Amen. Perfect. Well, Miss Sarah Kate Jorgensen, correct? Thank
Yeah.
you so much for letting us interview you tonight. We appreciate the time and commitment that you placed in this interest for this position. We as an ANC will be voting on February 11th, and then we'll be giving notice to the historian of that decision on February 12th. So please look out for our email regarding that final decision. And it sounds like some of the commissioners might reach out to you for follow-up questions. If you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to us. Expect a separate email from me on something else, so just be on the lookout for that. But I really did enjoy your presentation, and I look forward to seeing you around in ANC 5D.
Can I just say I'm so grateful to all of you for being here so long with me, and that it's been wonderful to meet you. It's also wonderful to meet a commissioner from Ivy City, and all of you, Commissioner McCray, Commissioner Robin, Commissioner Arbuckle, Commissioner Robin, Commissioner, oh, you mistake someone, and Commissioner Sauceda Guzman. I was so excited to do this. So just been fun to present to you, and have a great night.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Have a good one.
Have a good one.
Okay,
Oh.
right here. Confirming that Miss Jorgensen's off. That concludes tonight's ANC meeting.